Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Taking Over. No, you're not dreaming. I'm flying solo tonight. Unfortunately, Ed had an emergency, like a family emergency. So I'm by myself tonight. So we'll see how that goes. First and foremost. Um, but yeah, I want to say though, because before I forget and before I keep going, happy birthday, Ed, because your birthday's tomorrow. I will not miss not saying it on screen though, just letting you know. I was not gonna pass that up. But anyway, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's here in the chat. Here so far, we got Ed himself. Hey, Ed, and my bestie Mel. No, too late, Ed. I had to say it. So unfortunately, now everybody's gonna know. Happy birthday, Ed! uh, but no, I just want to thank everybody for stopping in tonight for taking over, even when I'm here by myself. This is the first time I do something like this, so we'll see how this goes. Um, Hopefully, I don't talk too fast. We'll see about that, but no promises. Um, I do want to say that it's definitely a show today that is super packed with women's wrestling, which is something that I enjoy, especially after what happened on Raw yesterday. Thank you, Carl. You're gonna be amazing as always. We'll see about that one. Um, but first up, we start with Indy Hartwell versus Tiffany. This was to me a great opener. I definitely enjoy the action between these two. It was definitely nice to see Tiffany just even after missing so many months of action, she's still going so strong. I feel like definitely was a great showcase for her in this match. And I think Indy was definitely that one person that will bring her, like, give her what she did tonight in that type of action. And exactly what she needed to show off tonight. Indy was the kind of person that will bring it out of her. So I think this was definitely a great pairing. Um, I liked Tiffany being Tiffany as always. There was a part towards the end that she starts holding her knee, making it look like she's injured. The referee is calling for the doctor. They're about to come in the ring, and just when they're about to come in the ring to check on her, she goes and she just goes after Indy. She definitely had a great moonsault for her finisher. I loved how she did it. Um, I love how she shot it on screen like that. That was a great showcase of that finisher. Definitely loved it. But yeah, she did her Muslim finisher and she won, which is no surprise. But yeah, I just felt like it was a good way to bring back Tiffany, build her back as a character, and just give her that momentum that she needs to go towards the women's championship. So that was nothing surprising to me that I saw that. After that, we had a recap of Toxic Attraction versus Roxanne and Lyra from last week, and what especially what happened towards the ending of JC kicking Gigi in the face, and then Roxanne getting the victory for her team on that match, which is something that's going to play out through those episodes as we saw tonight. Starting first with JC. We have an interview with JC, and she starts talking about Gigi and the miscommunication that happened. But she said you thought it was miscommunication, but that it was definitely an awakening. That's what she called it. She's like, I've been carrying Gigi since we burned this team. She's the reason, like, I'm the reason why we had the tag gold. I'm the reason we were champions for almost a year. She's like, I was the anchor to Gigi this whole time. And she's like, well, tonight I'm going to show you something you've never seen before, something you never expected. And I definitely love that part of Gigi, of the part of JC's interview, of like even with everything, she's like, this is like like a awakening for her, and this is the moment, the moment exactly that I thought this is gonna play out like they're both going against each other, and Roxanne is just in the middle, like I have nothing else because they're going against each other. But I knew from the beginning, being Toxic Attraction, that this would not last too long. So I'm glad I was right, especially towards the end, as we noticed. Um, After this, we had Thea getting ready for her ceremony. I thought it was really cute with her robe and everything backstage as he was getting ready for this. And then we had after that, we had Gulak going over to the Creeds, and just going to the training that they have there. Just I figured it was a good, I guess, an easy way to set up the match that they had later on tonight. After that, we had the ceremony for Thea. I love that there was a part that Andrew says, "That's some BS, that mother effing BS," and then he stopped himself from saying it, and the crowd starts chanting, "That's not PG." So I thought that was pretty funny. But I love having this little, like, even like ceremony for something like this for Thea. It's a way to showcase her character too, and just a little bit more of that chase you camaraderie that we get and how great they are together. So I really love seeing that. Just when she's getting ready to do her, well, she's already doing her speech, because of her victory and everything that Andre said about her. We get none other than JD McDonough interrupting her. but he's talking and was like, oh, since when do we get participation awards? Is that a thing now? Because one victory and you get an award. Like if it works that way, like it will be so different. And I love my favorite part of this was like Chase had his robe on as he was doing the ceremony, but he does tell JD, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And I tell my students to always be ready. And he took up the rope and he has usual gear on, and he just kicks JD out of the ring. And that we go to the commercial, and coming back from commercial, we get JD versus Chase. I thought it was just a quick match to like set up something fun for Andre Chase for tonight, especially after what happened with Thea there. I love how Thea, like even outside of the ring, she's always like giving that girl kind of facial expression to JD whenever he has some offense on. There was a part though that did stood out to me though, is that Andre is pinning JD and JD has his leg on the ropes, and I think that even Booker said, "If you're a teacher, how do you like miss something like that? How do you have him so close to the ropes to the point of like you know that that we're gonna have the pin that's gonna break there?" So I thought that was kind of funny in there too. Um, yeah, I thought about that too, and I thought about the state hype, and I thought also about Zack Ryder and like you know, always ready kind of situations. I thought it was pretty funny that came to my mind as I heard Andre say that tonight. But yeah, the line from Booker was he was surprised that the teacher placed himself in that position, being that he pinned JD so close to the ropes, and he had to have a pin break in there because he had his foot on the ropes. Um, I like how also between the character change, like the character development here, is that we had Hudson, Duke Hudson, just walking away after knowing that this is gonna happen and knowing that JD was gonna win, and just when the JD wins, having Thea with that facial expression, like I do not like this at all. Um, but I think it was just a fun match of like to bring JD back and to just give us some fun for Chase You. Another part that I did enjoy as well was when they're talking about the Chase U section of the fans and they're cheering about the section and having it there. And I love how they portray, like they do this a shot to the fans there with the Chase U shirts in the audience. So that was a nice touch to have them included in the segment in such a way. Um, After this, we get Kiana and her assistant G there backstage, and we get Kiana and Fallon setting up for the match that they have, and they're asking each other they're ready. Kiana just tells Fallon, "Yeah, I stretched and I warmed up and I'm good to go." It's like, "Oh, but I think I should start the match." And then Fallon doesn't seem to really like that aspect of it. And it's like, "It's okay, you know, we'll figure it out when we get there, and you know, whatever happens, happens." Um, I love how this part Fallon just looks at Briggs like, I don't know if I like this though. But she's like giving that facial expressions like, I'm doing it, but I'm only doing it for you. So I like that part of it. But like right away, we had Kiana and Fallon versus Tatum, Paxton, Ivy, Nile. I feel like the match itself was short, but if I figured it would be something to build up towards later, which is exactly what happened. We did part we have towards the end that Ivy was having a submission, and we had like Tatum distracting the referee. But you notice also on the other end that Kiana's helping Fallon. She just grips Ivy's hair and just throws her on the mat, and it's something that Fallon didn't notice when it happened. So as it happened, uh, Fallon hit the finisher, the Shining Wizard, and Kiana went all around and she was holding on to Tatum. So Tatum wouldn't break up the pin there either. So Kiana and Fallon had a pretty quick victory. But at the end of it, you see Jensen just showing or like telling Fallon, it's like, yeah, she pulled her hair, like if you didn't notice. And then Fallon's like kind of like telling him, boy, I didn't notice that she did that. And he tells her, yeah, she like pulled her hair back. So that kind of helped to like of having Kiana take over in that kind of way. But yeah, I thought it was interesting because she didn't seem to like that at first, but then she was like, I guess like okay with it in a way, and they just raised their hands together and they leave after they're victorious. Before this happens, we're supposed to have Gulak and Walker versus the Creeds. Before that happens, as usual with NXT, we have New Day backstage. They're singing one of Randy's old theme songs, "Burning by Light." If you haven't heard it, it's definitely one of my favorite ones too. I love how they were just doing that randomly backstage when we had the groups come in. We had Malik and Inofe arriving, and they're like, "Yeah, we have learned a lot about you with your time here in NXT so far." It's like, what about a title shot though? And just as they're talking about it, they're asking for that championship match at Vengeance Day to be added. We had Schism arrive. One of my favorite parts, though, I think it was Kofi, if I'm not mistaken. Kofi just looks at a plant. He's like, "Oh, look, one tree, four plants. That's how it goes, right?" He's just looking at a random plant that's in the room that doesn't necessarily look the tree whatsoever. But I thought it was just a pretty funny way of making fun of Schism in that way. Um, but New Day says, "Okay, let's do a New Day invitational. You know what? Whoever wins this match is gonna join us and Pretty Deadly and Gallus in the match of Vengeance Day." Well, we'll get more details about that a little bit later. After this, we had Braun arriving, and it goes back to what I've said before. Braun, you always say you're there in the morning. It was probably an hour into a show, and you were just arriving. What kind of champion are you? Come on. Um, Gacy had a great tweet about how teaming with Kofi Kingston making him this way. I mean, it was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I was gonna say Eddie. I was like, wait, I'm confused. um, But yeah, I we have Braun arriving. After this, we have Apollo in the barbershop. This is just a funny segment of him just hanging up with the Carmelo's barber. And just as he's getting comfortable there, well, we have our Carmelo there. And he's like, "What are you doing there in my chair? Like with my barber of all people." Um, and they had a good back and forth there too that I liked. But there was a way that Apollo was saying, "It's like, oh, like I'm better than you." And Carmelo tells him, "Was like, I'm a younger, better looking version of you." So I really like seeing that back and forth between them. And he says, "Oh yeah, like that title looks better on me than it looks on you." But at the end, Apollo goes, "It does look good on you, but it looked better on me though." And he suggests having a 2 out of 3 falls match for Vengeance Day. So I think that would be very interesting because I don't know if for those I haven't heard, we will have a post Vengeance Day show with none other than Wallflower Perry, who was Victor Taylor Perry. He's a singer and the founder of the wrestling club. So I can't wait for him to have that reaction to that 2 out of 3 falls match that it's going to happen at Vengeance Day with Carmelo. I know he was pretty excited about it when he posted it on Twitter. So Ed and I definitely looking forward to having him on the show, especially reacting to something like this. So I think that would be pretty cool. So after this, we had Gulak and Walker versus the Creeds. It's just nothing like special to this match, I would say. It's just the parts of like more building the storyline here. Um, Hello, Barry. Nice to see you here. Thank you for stopping by. We had that. There was a part that they were setting up for a double team move. It was Walker with Gulag, but when Gulag is bouncing from the ropes, we had Brutus coming and pouncing on him. So he basically has to exit out of the ring. And I know Dempsey is there, so we had that part of Dempsey kind of looking out for Gulak, and they're having like a face off in front of the ring. And then Walker's like trying to get Gulak's like, attention, and he just looks at him and goes, "You got this, you got this." And we had a little bit of that, a little bit of time there that he's fighting the Creeds by himself. Um, so there was a Brutus ball, and then Julius just keeping Gulak away when this was happening, so that way they could win the match. My favorite part of this though was definitely this end part because they had Ivy with them in the ring. We had Julius, Brutus, and then Ivy just in the middle of them, which is what I like because it's a good visual of like her being the center of them because that's just what was happening in the promo itself. Um, they're both complimenting her, telling her it's like Julius starts by saying, "Yes, I accept that I can be a pain in the butt. Like you can ask my family, you can ask my friends." It's like, but it's me being who I am. His brother also supports him what he's saying. He's like, you could have walked away from us, but you didn't. You stay here with us, especially when we were jokes, as they said. But this reminded us of when we had the tag team championship. So we thought it was a good way to like motivate us to get back to that picture. And then we have Indochine arriving, and they just announced or get the offer of having a match versus Greece next week. Jinder Mahal just tells him, the boys are good and healthy. They're 100%, and you guys are too. So we could easily have this match next week. Um, I believe it's already set up for next week. I see the graphic for that one though. Going back to Barry's comment here, the Creeds are improving on the mic, much needed improvement. Yeah, I feel like for me, Julius, and that's not me being biased, Julius, I feel like has improved more than Brutus has, but tonight Brutus sounded more confident while he was on the mic, which I really did like. And it's just like they said, it feels like going back to the roots of like when they were champions. And I like having Ivy as like the middle there in that center, and the reasoning why they're going back to that too. So I thought that was pretty nice to see, like visually, when they were together in the ring. After this, we had an interview with Gigi this time around. She is responding back to what happened with JC, and she said, "Well, I'm not surprised but shocked." And I like how she starts with playing with a rose, and she asked Mackenzie, "What is this?" And she goes, "What's a rose?" And she goes, and it just made me think back of Mandy as well. And she's like, "What does the rose have? What are these things, the spikes here?" And she goes, "Well, the thorn." And she goes, "Well, thorns can be dangerous if we're distracted by the petals." And that's how she references back to everything going on with JC and what JC said earlier to her, which I thought was pretty interesting because it just made me realize yet again after both interviews that something was going down in the main event. I figure you like Gigi. I think everybody loves Gigi Carl, so I don't blame you there. No, but I really like this interview too. It just again, it just added more to the fuel of the what I was thinking of. Like something's happening between these two. Of like they're not really going against each other. It's just a plan to get over against Roxanne. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Um, After that, we had a Wendy versus Electra. But before that really happened, we had Tony D and Stax just going to a restaurant. They have like a secluded section for them with the curtains and everything. And just when they're about to pay, the owner tells them, "Oh, so you took care of somebody in the track field, in the track, or something like that." And so they're paying you back, so they paid for your meal, so you don't have to worry about it. And they're just celebrating like Stack's new status within the family. After this, we had before the Electra and Wendy really starts, they show us Valentina and Electra backstage. That is pretty nice to like get this before the match even started. And it's just Electra telling Valentina, he's like, "I don't want you to just see the match backstage. I want you to be there at ringside and watch my match against Wendy, and that way you get to see firsthand how I work." And we see first Electra coming in. I thought that Valentina was going to be like right behind her, but no, she's like walking a little bit after her, so we don't see her right away. And it just like the match itself, again, just like the women's tag match, it was just a little bit short. There's something really that stood out in that part of it. It was mostly Electra took a moment, took out the brass knuckles. When Wendy ran towards her, she hit her right hand with the brass knuckles, and she won the match. And even Valentina's like, "That's not what I want. I don't want the cheating." Um, but Electra just like gives her that look of like, "Yeah, but look, I'm the one standing up in victory here. Like I'm getting my hand raised. It's not Wendy's because of what I did." So still, Valentina doesn't agree with what's happening there. After this, we had JBBJ with Fallon backstage. We have Briggs coming in here, and he just tells her, "Oh, I went to Shawn Michaels' office." Um, Yes, thank you, Carl. I'm glad you said that. He's saying, "I'm happy the ladies are getting better treatment than in other brands." Yes. Um, yeah, everything that happened with Raw definitely, I feel like it feels like a thing, like a response to it in a way, because we have so many women segments that were not only advertised beforehand, but the show itself have had a lot of women's like matches and segments throughout the night, which is nothing surprising with NXT. Like, Ed and I, we always say it, we love NXT for that reason, is that they book their women so well, and to the fact that like you like how you see most of the roster in the 2 hour show. And I wish you would see something like this on Raw and SmackDown more constantly, and it's something that we didn't get yesterday, unfortunately, and I wish we had. And going to Ed's comment here, Latina World Order is starting up. This is exactly what I was thinking. Forgot what video I saw over the weekend. Oh, it was Electra. It was from NXT Anonymous, and it was Electra talking to Lola, who it's one of Ed's new favorites now. They were just talking, and then they saw the person recorded them, and they just said something, and the person was still recording them as they kind of yelled at them. But it just made me realize if maybe Electra is kind of like recruiting these like Latinas to start up some kind of stable here, as we had discussed, because she's trying to get Valentina to come in and cheat. She's trying to like get these wins, and she's trying to recruit Lola's, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah, Lola has her first match on Level Up. I don't know. I think it's is it airing this week, I believe. I know she had it coming up. So I think it's interesting the way they're setting up this group with Latinas. So I'm interested to see how that works out and how that would happen. We never had a group like that, so I think that would be interesting to see. Of like, I feel like it's a good woman empowerment and female empowerment kind of group. So I'm looking forward to that part of it. As I was saying, we had JBBJ with Fallon. But Briggs comes in and he's just says, "Oh yeah, I went to Shawn Michaels' office, and being how great you and Kiana were working, I asked for you guys to get a women's tag title match at Vengeance." And she goes, "Why would you do that? Like there was, I told you it was a one-time thing. It wasn't supposed to be like something that will keep going after tonight." And I like how Brooks just looks at him and is like, "Oh, I thought you would have been too scared to even talk to Shawn Michaels." He's like, "Yeah, I was almost pissing in my fans." Um, but she's like, "Well, I guess you already asked for it, so like we'll see." She's like kind of telling him like she'll think about it, which I like too. It's just a part of it was like I expected it to keep going. I didn't think that match was gonna be just a one-time match. So there we have it. After this we had Grayson arriving. Oh my gosh, Carl, Mamacita World Order. I cannot with you. I don't know about that one. We'll keep it on for later, maybe. We had Grayson Waller arriving, and then right after this, we had a Stevie Turner interview. I like how Mackenzie's here. She's like, "Well, I was supposed to have a interview scheduled with Stevie Turner, but she's not here on set." And then Stevie shows up on the screen behind her. She's like, "You were supposed to be here." She's like, "No." It's like, "Yeah, you're supposed to be on set." She's like, "I am on set." And the set itself is like her and the computer as we had her the past couple of weeks doing her streaming session. And she does like a little Q&A in her stream, and she's asked about who would she like to go against, and she's like, "Well, I would like to face Roxanne," but she said, I don't think she'll have her title past Vengeance Day. And I thought, interesting, calling out the champion so so quickly. Go for it. And then she was asking when she was going to wrestle, and she said, "Well, interesting enough, my debut is actually next week." So she's definitely promoting us next week. We'll have Stevie Turner's first match in NXT now, so that will be interesting to see how she gets introduced. I wonder we'll get the kind of like Isla Dawn kind of debut, or do we get a lighter Valkyrie kind of debut? So we'll see how what category it falls on so far. After this, and then I like how she hears Grayson's music. She's like, "Well, my time to go because I hear Grayson's music is happening." Um, Grayson does have a promo just calling out Braun. For any of you that didn't see it, they had a fight at the Performance Center yesterday. Conveniently having a lot of the roster just going live and filming videos as the fight was happening and breaking out in the Performance Center between them. They had to be separated by the guys training there. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Like everybody recording at the same time. Um, but the he starts talking about that and the fight that happened. I like the part when he just says, "I can smell the dog coming," and just exactly when Braun is coming in. But he's getting shielded by like security and a lot of the men's locker room trying to separate them already, knowing where Braun's going right after Grayson. Um, but I like this part of like Grayson kind of like outsmarting Braun in that sense because he goes to spear him, and Grayson just moves out of the way, and Braun just goes through a part of the barricade, and so they had to have the doctors check on him. Um, yeah, I just thought this was interesting in the way it happens, same thing that happened before with the steel piece that he had in his abdomen when Braun speared him. So it reminded me of those little moments of like Grayson like outsmarting Braun in that sense of it. Um, After this, we just had Gallus playing pool. Nothing really stood out to me when it came to this promo. It just about the upcoming match. Next up, we had I think one of the interesting parts of tonight. We had Alpha Fire versus Casey Squared for the women's tag titles. I love again going back to this is just the part of having the referee asking Alba, "Do you sure you want to continue with the match?" And she definitely said, "Yeah, like I'm good to continue." And before the match really starts, we had Soruga's theme song, which I did not expect. She comes in and team up with Alba. I think it would be interesting to see if Isla Dawn had been her partner instead of Soruga, but I think that's also adds another part to the story as well. Um, so we had they have the visual of like having Alba Fire like it's been the last couple of weeks of like her mindset of like she comes in and she doesn't know what she's going through, and she's like kind of like in that trance kind of thing happening. And Soul, and she didn't want to tag in Soul. She kind of just leaned back towards the rope and Soul tagged herself in. I did like that there was a part with the double team move from Casey Square. So if you haven't seen this match, I'd recommend it because that part of like the way of the woman wrestling, it was really well done, especially from Casey Square because they've been teaming for so long. Um, But yeah, it's just one of those parts that like Alba is more distracted than anything. So definitely, Casey Square gets the win and they retain the titles. One thing though that was interesting that from this aspect in this match is like now after the ending, Isla Dawn is by the entrance, and we have Alba just walking near her, and Alba just walks backstage, and Isla Dawn's like looking at everybody around before she leaves right behind her. So it's interesting to see like how not only Alba's mindset, but like she passed by an Isla Dawn and didn't do anything to her, but they went and walking kind of close to each other. Um, so after this, after the match and that part happened, we had Fallon and Kiana in the Eagles Nest, as Ed likes to call it. So they're just telling the girls, yeah, so the Fallon said, yeah, I definitely thought about it, and we're gonna have that match. We're gonna have the women's tag title match. So it'll be Fallon, Henley, and Kiana James versus Casey Squared having a Vengeance Day now. I think it's also pretty nice to see something like this because usually the women's tag titles get used towards the week after. We usually get those special PLEs with NXT, and we get a lot of the title matches, but the women's tag titles end up being on the week after the NXT show, like a post show to it. So I'm glad to see them being part of the main card. I feel like it doesn't happen often, so I would like to see how this goes in the PLE, how it plays out. After this, we had Dijak and Wes just talking about the title, and Dijak telling him, "Was like, just might as well hand the title." There's nothing really much to this one particularly. This one though, another interesting part tonight. We had Cora getting interviewed, and Mackenzie's like, "Well, you wanted this time." And he's like, "No, you come in. I'm the superstar. You come in when it's my time, not when you want to come." So there, she's asking her about the Lyra situation. That's right at the Battle Royal, and then what happened last week. And then Cora just brings out one of the feathers that's inside her locker. She's like, "See, this is what she does. She's putting the feathers like everywhere." And then we hear Vic telling Mackenzie, "Mackenzie, something's happening outside." And Mackenzie doesn't really react the first time, so she has to tell like at least twice. And then she goes, "I'm sorry, Cora, something's happening outside. I have to go check on that." And we go right away to one of Ed's favorites. None other than there was a car leaving the parking lot, and we had Nikita on the ground. She had been attacked. I think it was probably her knee, her leg getting injured. And we had at the right timing Indy and Lyra come in, arriving, asking for medical to check on her. So I think that was interesting. Again, the NXT parking lot being as dangerous as it always is. Don't go in the NXT parking lot, Nikita. You should have gone by yourself. You have so many friends. Come on, girl. But yeah, not like I once said he said outside. I kept thinking, oh no, here's the parking lot. Nothing else to it. But yeah, that was pretty interesting because I feel like I don't think it would have been Zoe because Zoe's more like that out front kind of character, so she would have done it in front, and if it was during the match, maybe at the entrance like she had done before, or even backstage, but not something like attacking and running away. So to me, that doesn't seem like Zoe's mo. So I'm interested to see if they end up putting it on her or is it something new now, because even before the battle royal we still, and before the Iron Survivor too, we still had that back and forth between Zoe and Nikita. So I think that will be interesting to see how they respond to it next week. Oh, Barry, don't come saying that when Ed is in the chat. Oh no. Ed, what do you have to say about this one? um but yeah, after this we had Chase U backstage, Duke going back and Chase asking him why he left earlier, why he just walked down during his match. And he said, "Well, I went to the office and I went to ask for to be added to the New Day tag title match." And he's like, "Well, Shawn Michaels told me to ask New Day." And I'm like, I like how New Day booked Idris and Malik earlier to have that match, that New Day Invitational. They added Schism to the match, and then after that, they just add the Duke and Chase too. As Ed is responding to Barry, I mean, acting less than ever bad thing. They should replace that money lady in the Mandalorian. Hey, so we get a graphic later on. So it'll be a triple threat tag team match. A winner advances to Vengeance Day. So be the Dyad versus Malik Blade and Idris Enofe versus Under Trace and Duke Hudson. So I think it was definitely interesting how it went from the Thea ceremony to, Under Trace and Duke getting added into this match as well. So yeah, it's nice to see like I like how he took a while to answer him. He's like, well, yeah, and he's like, well, tell me, did we get in the match or not? It's like, no, we didn't. And then you see the disappointment in Chase's face, and then just goes, "No, we got in. It's just like we have to win the triple threat to be joined, but we're still getting that opportunity to, maybe be there." And for the main event tonight, we had none other than the Women's Championship Summit. First we start with JC and Gigi, that were on opposite sides of the table. The only person to get really official entrance was Roxanne, and then Booker T was right next to her. I like how we have that visual itself with the table of like showing them an opposite sides, kind of giving you that idea of like they don't agree with each other anymore, and having Roxanne in the middle because that's how it feels right now in this match exactly as well. But we had a JC saying like kicking you was not an accident, but I wish it wasn't, and telling Gigi like I dragged you to success because if it wasn't for me, you would have been a one hit wonder living on the indie scene. And that definitely got a reaction from the crowd, of course. Um, and then Gigi responds by telling her, "Is like, yeah, you puke in a bucket before you because you get nervous before your matches. Like your bucket is right there by the entrance with your name on it. That's how often you do it." And then we have Booker T like asking Roxanne about her comments about what happened. She's like, "Well, I'm just gonna grab the popcorn and enjoy this everything that's going on." And Gigi tells JC, "You're the third wheel in the group before, as you are third wheel in this match." And they just definitely like stand up and they go to face each other. And in that moment, I thought, yeah, this is definitely not happening. And just when they're face to face, you think they're probably going to attack each other. And Roxanne's just going to enjoy the show like she has been so far. But they look at each other and then they just help and hit Roxanne. They plant her face on the table, and they just basically join forces against Roxanne. And I like how towards the end as well is like Gigi had the championship in the air and she was raising it, and then JC took the other end and they both raised it together, keeping it as like the center of what's going on. So I think it's definitely interesting because I don't see Roxanne losing at Vengeance Day, so it definitely has to be one of them getting pinned somehow. I wonder they will have some kind of miscommunication and having Roxanne in a way take advantage of it. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely interested about that part of it. And like I said earlier, we have a post show for Vengeance Day, so join us. I wish to have Victor Taylor Perry with us. I know he's definitely going to enjoy watching that Carmelo match that got announced tonight as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. After that, I also wanted to show, which I don't do often. I apologize for that, but being me now that I'm trying not to forget things, something new. I definitely wanted to show you guys what we have going on this week in OLE. So I'll be right back. As you see, we have a lot going on this week, especially with the Royal Rumble coming up. So definitely wait for the Royal Rumble afterwards for a reaction. I bet you with everything that we have going on, you would definitely need a drink from Rogue Energy. So if you haven't checked that out, you can definitely scan that QR code right there and use the code OLEPOTS for 10% off your order because you're definitely going to need one of those to keep up with us this week. We definitely have a lot going on, from the Royal Rumble preview to the Royal Rumble Reacts itself. But yeah, a lot going on. I do want to thank everybody that has been in the chat here as well. Oh, sorry, go here to Barry's comment. It was an enjoyable NXT becoming a consistently good show. Yeah, definitely feel like tonight the pacing was a lot better and a lot of women's matches and women's representation, which is something that I really, really enjoy about NXT in itself as it is. And it was no different tonight. It felt like almost like a go home show for Vengeance Day. And I have to think about it. It's like, it's not the go home show at all. It's definitely the Royal Rumble week, but we still have a little bit of time for Vengeance Day. I want to thank you, Carl, for coming on in the chat as well. If you haven't checked it out, Carl was live earlier for Turnbuckle Talk. So basically, when I'm done now, you can go back to the VOD and watch Carl talk about so many topics that I cannot even listen because there's too many of them. But definitely check him out if you haven't yet, because he definitely has a great discussions going on Turnbuckle Talk. Um, But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming in on the comments, and Ed even stopping by with everything you have going on, and Mel as always. Yeah, and just to like announce it here at the moment, Mel and I are going to be live for Women for Ladies Wrestling Showcase this Friday at 6 p.m. on my Twitch. Yeah, we're going to talk about Raw 30 and everything that happened for the women that happened during the show. Definitely about Nikki Bella's comments about the show, about the Women's Rumble, and because we've been delayed, I would definitely want to talk about Mercedes in New Japan, coming from Mel herself being a New Japan fan. So I definitely want to get her point of view on that. But yeah, for this is pretty much it for tonight for me. But I just wanted to point out, um, no, it will not take too long. But yeah. I definitely want to point out for my socials, you can find me on my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro, my Instagram, Astrid Pizarro 20. As I'll be here again next week for taking over, hopefully with Ed. Definitely celebrating his birthday because we will not miss that for sure, even when he's not here. Definitely having Thursday. We're doing making an impact with Cody. I'm definitely going to be sharing a little bit of my experience within Impact Wrestling this past weekend. It was definitely exciting to finally be on a wrestling show. I definitely realized I haven't seen wrestling live since 2019, so it was definitely nice to see wrestling live for a change. And then, like I said, Friday, Ladies Wrestling Showcase talking about everything that I just mentioned. And then Saturday, we had the reacts for the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, I like going on. No, Barry, I will not be posting spoilers. I'm being good about that. I'm only posting things as the tapings go along. So, definitely will not be saying spoilers, just like my overall experience being on the show. But as the weeks keep happening, I'll definitely post what happened and what I have from pictures and recordings there too. So and definitely in women's wrestling talk as well. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of clips here and there. So that's another thing. I have my NXT review of women's wrestling talk that was just released for NXT last week, and I definitely have a lot to write about based on what happened tonight as well. So that's going to be exciting too. But no, I want to thank everybody for your support tonight and showing up tonight. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Sorry it was a short show, but I'm by myself. I really don't have anybody to ask how the show went. But hopefully we'll have Ed next week again. Definitely missed having him on here, especially with everything that happened with Nikita. But I definitely want to thank everybody for staying here tonight. I appreciate you, and then we'll see you next week.